Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining from. A very warm welcome to you in this webinar from Nimblework. Today's session is episode 6 of the series that we're doing on project planning, with combines traditional, agile, and hybrid methods of project planning. This episode is part of the series that we've been doing since early May, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll give a couple of minutes for uh, people to join in. As you can see that they are still joining in. In the meantime, let's get started with some of the preliminaries. So the agenda for the session today, I'll start with some introductions, and then I'll give you a quick introduction to the sponsor, Nimblework, for those of you who may not know us. And then we'll get on to the main session, project planning using traditional, agile, and hybrid methods. And at the end of the session, we will have a Q&A session, and hopefully we will get a chance to hear from you and learn from each other's experience around this important activity of project planning. Uh, just some housekeeping, we are recording the session as usual, and we will share the recording after the session is over via email. All right. So with that, let me get started on the introductions. So our main speaker has been for this series, Mano Cherian. Mano is VP of Business Development at Nimblework, and probably the most knowledgeable person in the company on our product portfolio. He handles some of the largest customers that we have, not only from a pre-sales point of view, but also helping implement some of the largest solutions that we have implemented with these customers using our products. So he has extensive experience, on how customers succeed using the solution that they get from us, and very qualified to speak on these sessions. My name is Mahesh Singh. I'm a co-founder as well as I run marketing for Nimblework. And I also am fortunate enough to work on some of the larger projects that we do for our Western Hemisphere customers in Europe and the Americas. And therefore, I've been also lucky to have worked with a lot of our customers, learning through that experience, um, how customers, and especially companies that are successful in terms of project delivery, how they organize themselves. And that is really what we're trying to bring through these sessions to those of you who join here, that you are able to benefit from the learning that we go through with the help of our customers. So before we get started on the main session, just a quick background on Nimblework. So we've been a pioneer of uh, web-based project and work management solutions for the last 2 decades. We are headquartered in Cupertino, California, which is where I'm based. We have offices in US, Europe, and in India. And Mano is based out of Bangalore in India. We have customers around the world with over 1 million users using all of our products. And if you'd like to learn more about the company overall, I welcome you to look at nimblework.com to learn more about us. Just a quick overview of our product portfolio. So Nimble is what we call an adaptive project and work management platform that really meets all of the typical needs of a company that wants to run its entire value stream, whether it's from strategy to execution or from upstream to downstream, really helping companies identify, prioritize, make it make it visual to people who are doing these projects and initiatives, to know what's coming down the pipeline, and then keeping leadership and customers and sponsors uh, aware of what's going on when the projects get executed through sort of end-to-end 360-degree visibility. So we have a variety of different functions available through the Nimble platform, which include Agile, standard work management, Nimble OKRs, and PPM, which allow you to define strategy and link it to execution. Nimble Hybrid and Enterprise, that sort of give you the entire end-to-end coverage on all kinds of methods that you may want to use on your projects. Some of the largest companies that are implementing Agile or have already moved to Agile are also very big with using retrospectives as a mechanism for continuous improvement. And we have a tool that's called Nimble Retro that helps you run retrospectives with distributed teams very easily using a variety of pre-built templates, retro templates within that. And then we have Swift Kanban, which is our leading Kanban tool for those companies that have adopted the Kanban method as followed by the Kanban community led by David Anderson. It is a specialized tool for companies that are using Kanban as a way to scale Agile and to do product development or all kinds of other business functions using the Kanban method. And just a last slide here in terms of who some of our customers are. And here you might recognize some of the names. We have some of the largest companies in the world using our products. And we have also some very small companies using our products. So we are able to really scale from the very small to the very large and provide a enterprise class experience to any kind of customer. So like I said, today's session is on project planning. So we sort of give you a complete flavor on how we enable completely traditional waterfall-based project planning and execution, or completely agile, whether you use Kanban or Scrum or a combination, or hybrid, which is using traditional planning but agile execution. And just to give you a quick sort of background to how we are here today, this is our sixth session. We started off with sort of setting up the basics of project governance. How companies that we worked with, how do they establish their organizational structure, their best practices and templates in a way that they can easily be used across the organization. Then we talked about in the second session, organizing and re-energizing the PMO, how some of the organizations that are responsible for successful project delivery, how they support these project teams, whether they're called PMOs or they might be SEPG or quality, etc. There are different names that these groups have, and they serve a combination of functions that help project teams deliver projects successfully. In the third session, we talked about aligning strategy to execution, where we talked of how companies use portfolio management or OKRs to define their overall organizational objectives and then link them to initiatives and programs and projects so that they get a complete visibility from top to bottom on how these objectives are being met through the project that they're running. In the next session, we talked about getting alignment on people management. Obviously, most project-driven organizations are very people-centric, and therefore we provide a lot of capabilities around how teams and people can get organized within the system in order for optimal utilization and use of the system for delivering the project successfully. And in that process, giving everybody visibility on their overall organizational purpose, as well as what they're supposed to be doing on different projects and initiatives. And in the last session, we talked about the actual method of identifying, reviewing, and selecting and funding projects. So we talked about the entire upstream cycle where new projects are identified, they get reviewed by various committees or people, and then they get prioritized and funded based on organizational processes and how we support that. And therefore, today, in this last session of the first phase of this series, we come to the next logical stage, which is that after projects have been approved, how do they get planned using one of these methods? So for that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mano. Mano, welcome to the session. And let's go over to your session.
Thank you, Mahesh, for setting the context. I am just sharing my screen. Are you able to see my slide?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for setting the context. What we will be covering today is how the Nimble Enterprise Solution supports project planning and how different flavors and methods of project planning can be supported by the platform. So when it comes to project planning or when it comes to the execution of a project, what is important is the definition of scope. Nimble has capabilities built in within the solution that can help you to define, collaborate on your scope and baseline your scope. Once the scope has been defined, you get into the planning phase of the project, which is where you will set up your milestones, your deliverables, You can have a traditional approach, you can have a agile based approach, or you can have a hybrid, which is what we are seeing is getting adopted across enterprises across the globe. Then it comes to project execution. So based on the plan, how are you executing in terms of what is your percentage completion? What are the various ways in which you will be able to view the percentage completion of a project? How do you handle change management? How do you track your risk issues, your decisions that are associated with the project? And then we come into the project tracking, which will be an ongoing activity, which is primarily to determine how the project is progressing. You can have dashboards, you can have notifications, you can have alerts, you can have escalations. A lot of such capabilities are being built within the Nimble system. The focus of our session today will be primarily around planning, where I will take in some examples. And the examples which I will be illustrating today is based on how our customers have used our platform for planning and executing their projects. So we have large system engineering organizations who use our platform for managing uh, their project and delivery related activities, and we have seen how they have adopted the traditional waterfall based approach to create plans that spans across stakeholders across various departments. And we have also seen our customers use our tool for developing products, and how they plan the releases, the sprints, how they build up the scope for a release and sprint, and then take it through execution. So we have had all these experiences, and what we are going to share with you today is just few of the an overview of some of these capabilities which has helped our customers use the system. So first, let me take you through the traditional approach. So in the traditional approach, one of the first steps that comes into play is how will I define my scope. So the Nimble solution provides an ability where you can set up your scope, you can define the details pertaining to the scope, you can have your attachments and collaboration facilitated through the system. And we also provide an ability where you will be able to set up workflows, and using these workflows, you will be able to get the specific requirement reviewed and approved by the relevant stakeholders. Once the scope has been defined, the application provides an ability where you can set up task plans. A project can have a single task plan or it can have multiple task plan. But what basically happens within a task plan is you will be able to track the work breakdown structure that is required to create the plan or the schedule for a specific project. So as you can see here, you will be able to set up your you'll be able to set up your phases for the project, and then within each phase you will be able to set up your activities, you will be able to set up your milestones, and you will also be able to set up your dates, the resources, the dependencies. You will be able to generate a Gantt view to view how the project is progressing, or what are the various dependencies and connects between tasks and activities across the phases of the project. You will also be able to see the progress of milestone as you have defined over here. So basically what we do over here is within the application, without depending on any other external tools within the system, using a web-based capability, you will be able to create your project schedule and use that baseline that schedule and use that for planning and tracking of your projects. Now the question is, how does the schedule get generated? The schedule can be manually created in the project. So which means that if I take the schedule to an edit mode, I will be able to add tasks. I'll be able to define dependencies. I'll be able to set up dates for each of the activity. But that definitely is going to be a laborious process, and that will be a plan which more or less will be as per what the project would require. But in Nimble Enterprise, we also provide an ability where we have a concept known as default tasks. So depending on various types of engagements which you are involved in, you will be able to create default, you'll be able to create templates which will comprise default tasks. Like say, for example, if I'm doing a cloud migration project, these are the default set of phases that needs to be considered. These are the default set of tasks that needs to be considered, how the tasks are dependent on each other, which of these tasks are milestones. All of these can be set up as a default structure in a template. And when a project gets created, if the project is getting, will do is it will generate the default work breakdown structure that is required to create the plan for that for create the task structure for that particular project, and that can be then further used for scheduling the project. Now, the plans which we create in Nimble can be a simple plan, as you see here, where the phases are straightforward, the activities and its associated dependencies are also straightforward. But the Nimble also provides an ability where you will be able to, like if you take an example of this project, this is exactly what one of our customers is doing. So they are into program management and they develop large products, and the products is broken down to various streams, and each stream is managed by an independent department, and each stream will basically have its own set of tasks and activities. So now if I click on any of the tasks, you will be able to see the task structure that gets automatically created. You'll be able to see the percentage completion based on the inputs that is being given by the team members who are working on it. And then we will also have advanced capabilities that, like, you will be able to view a Gantt chart view, and you will also be able to generate a critical path view, which automatically gets calculated in the system based on the progression of the project. The tool will automatically calculate and show you the tasks that are in the critical path, which basically needs immediate attention and focus from the project team's perspective. So if you see here, there are multiple parameters which we capture: the percentage completion, the team members who are allocated to a particular task, the planned start date, the actuals. If you are into tracking efforts for the task that has been planned for the project, the efforts. So all these details can be tracked in the system. It can be viewed in the Gantt chart, and then based on the progression, you will also be able to view the critical path that is applicable for that specific project. Okay, so this is about how a traditional project can be planned using the waterfall methodology, how a traditional project can be planned, executed, and tracked within the Nimble Enterprise system. Now I'm going to switch my context and let me just quickly move into another project, which is basically getting executed using the waterfall method. So like I showed you in the slide, the first step is to define the scope. So in Nimble, we provide for agile projects, we provide a structured way in which the scope for a project can be defined. So we call it the story mapping method, wherein you will be first able to define the high level requirement or use case that needs to be implemented in a product or in a service. You will be able to break down that high level use case to themes, as you can see over here, which is a construct in agile engagements. Themes can then further be broken down to epics, which is the next level detailing of a high level requirement. But the story mapping capability provides you the option to identify the stakeholders who are going to be the consumers of your product or your service. And when you're breaking down a theme, you will be able to break it down based on how the stakeholder is going to consume that particular service. And then you can further break it down to user stories or technical stories. We support both user stories and technical stories. You will further be able to break it down. And then once the planning has been done, and I will shortly come to the point on how planning is going to be done. Once the planning has been done, we also provide you a view which will basically show you how the user stories which are there in your backlog has been planned. So which of these user stories are going to be picked up in which sprint and which team is going to execute it, that visualization will also get generated in the system based on how you have planned. And this is just to give you an integrated view from what has been defined and what has been planned from an execution perspective. Now, what we will do is we have just broken down this requirement known as prototype for action bot. Now, there are multiple ways in which this hierarchical structure can be viewed. So one is you can see it through the storyboard where you have basically broken it down to its lowest level. The second one is you can go to the theme of module, which will list the themes that the team is currently working on. And if we will look at this particular theme, which is what we saw before, we will come to the linked card segment, and you will be able to see how it has been broken down. So how you can visually basically be able to see it. So you'll be able to see how the themes has been broken down to epics, and then how the epics has been broken down to user story. If you go to the next level of detailing, you will also be able to see which team is working on that user story and which state that user story is currently on. So if you see here, it shows you that the development for this user story has been completed, whereas this user story has still not yet been picked up for its execution. So you get this visualization, and then we also, because of the structure that has been created, we also provide the ability where you will be able to track the percentage completion at the lowest level, and that can roll up to epics, and that can roll up to the theme. So you'll be able to see at any point of time, if you're a product owner, what is the percentage completion of this specific theme. That can be easily visualized in our system. Now, what is important is the lower level user stories. These are what will comprise your backlog. So all your backlogs will be here under the user stories. Now, the question is, if I just click on this backlog module, you will be able to see that all the user stories that has been defined for that specific product development project. So you can see that there are in excess of 200 user stories. The question is, how do I prioritize and how do I plan for the execution of these user stories? So for that, what we provide is we provide an ability where you can set up your releases along with the dates. And within each release, you will be able to set up the sprints along with the dates. Once the release and sprints has been set up, we provide an ability which is what we call as the backlog refinement process. There are multiple approaches for planning, but I'll just take you through the simplest of what we support, which is the backlog refinement process. So when we come to the backlog refinement process, you will be able to get a visualization in terms of, let me just uh, go to all work items over here. So you will see that I have 432 work items in my backlog, of which you will be able to see how many has been completed, what are in progress, what is pending. So there is a visualization which we show you over here. So you can get to see over here that you have 199 in your backlog. We can use filters over here to identify the stories which you feel are important. You can use multiple filters across these columns. So you can filter it on the base of name, on the base of module, on the base of priority, and so on and so forth. Or we also provide you an ability where you can group your backlog across multiple dimensions. And then based on the grouping that you have set up over here, you'll be able to see the percentage completion. So if you just take a look at this visualization, it shows you that all stories that are mapped to the configuration framework module has seen a far greater percentage completion than like say for example integration is much lower. So when it comes to planning, the team can decide. That is the Scrum team along with the Scrum Master. In most of our cases, even the customers are involved in this process. So you can come over here and say that, okay, we need to implement the dashboard framework in the next release. So let's focus on the dashboard framework. So you can zero down to your area of interest, and then you can say that, okay, let's focus on all user stories that will help us improve the UI of dashboards. So you get to see the 6 stories. And then from here, so what I have done is based on certain grouping criteria, I've been able to quickly come down from 435 or 199 in my backlog to six user stories that are pending for a specific area of priority. Then you can choose the required user stories. You can take it through a process of grooming. Grooming is a process where you will detail the user stories. And once it has been detailed and ready to be picked up by the project teams for its execution, you will take it to the sprint planning. So all the current and future sprints that has been defined in the project across teams will get reflected over here. And then through a simple drag and drop mechanism, you can build the scope for a particular sprint. So the sprint has a timeline, the sprint has a scope. So based on the sprint has a capacity. So based on the available capacity, you will be just do a simple drag and drop, and you will be able to build up the scope for a particular sprint. There are various other indicators which we provide over here, like say for example, my worst three sprints, how much story points I delivered, my best three sprints, how much I delivered in the last three, how much. So you get these kind of insights, which will then help you to say that, okay, am I ready to deliver 150 story points, or am I ready to deliver 120 story points for a specific team? And then based on the interest, you can drag and drop. Once it has been dragged and dropped, the entire execution happens on a visual execution board. So like I can just click on this link over here, or I can directly access the execution board through the menu. But you will basically get to see all the stories that has been scoped across sprints. There are multiple visual parameters that are provided over here. Like say, for example, you will see the cards that are blocked. You have planned a user story for a particular sprint, but then you want to deprioritize it. So we have a method where in which you can deprioritize it. We also provide the ability where your sprint has come to the end. You have just worked on a story, maybe for 50% has been completed or 60% has completed. So you can create a spillover card and use it for the planning cycle in the next upcoming sprint. So the balance work can be picked up in any of the upcoming sprints. So these are all the ways in which we facilitate and ensure and support that a proper planning can be done when it comes for Scrum and Scrum teams. There are various other views which we provide here in Nimble. You have a list view, but what is more important is when it comes to when it comes for the team to execute, they also get a timeline view. So you will, wherever you have defined the dates, you'll be able to see the progress. Wherever there is a delay, you'll be able to see that it gets marked in red, like you see over here. And so there are a lot of visual paradigms which we provide in this interface, where in which the planning is just not a one-time activity. The planning is just not happening at the beginning of the sprint, but as you execute, you will be able to see the impact of work on various work items which you have taken up. You will be able to easily identify which is likely to get delayed, which has got delayed, and then you can reprioritize it and get it executed within the system. For agile teams, we also provide a capability, which is what we call as the the stand-up wizard. So this stand-up wizard is very popularly used among by all of our customers. So the teams can, the Scrum teams can come to the platform. They will be able to invoke a stand-up meeting, and they will be able to see the percentage of progress of work across the teams. And then you can do a planning and prioritize work at on a daily basis. So like say for example, if you want to prioritize a new work, prioritize a new user story, and descope another user story, that can very easily be done if you are using the sprint planning, the stand-up wizard module that is available in the application. So that is how we help agile teams to plan and execute their work. Now, apart from this, what we have seen is a lot of services engagements. It is very important to track the percentage completion more accurately. It is also very important to keep a tab on what has been committed to the customers. So customers want a timeline view. So we have come across cases, especially in cases where you implement a product or you deliver a scope in a fixed price mode. In such scenarios, we have seen that cases where the teams wants to adopt the best of breed of both the processes, the best of what a waterfall method can offer, and the best of what an agile can offer. So in such cases, we provide a capability in our platform wherein which you can set up a plan, and then a plan. So when the project gets created, you will create a high level plan for the project. You will basically go and say that these are my tasks, these are my milestones, and you can basically go and set up dates for those tasks and milestones. But what we also do is we provide an ability where you will be able to mark a task as what we call as a hybrid task. So you can mark a task as a hybrid task. And when a task has been marked as a hybrid task, you will then be able to link user stories to that particular task, and then you will be able to get it executed on the agile execution board. So let me just quickly switch my login and get into a project where we have been able to set this up for you. So Mahesh, any questions while I get into that specific project?
There are a couple of questions that are coming, but let's take them at the end because they will all sort of form a continuous discussion.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take you through that. Just give me a minute. So what you just let me come to the task plan. And I will just change this view a bit. So I'll come and just give me a minute.
No worries. So take a time while I take up one of the questions. So one question that
Yeah.
has come in is that can a organization have in a single environment uh, projects that are running waterfall, projects that are running agile, and so on? So yes, the answer to that is absolutely yes. The ability to choose the process is of course available at the project level and at a process template level, which Manu was describing earlier. So any organization can define a variety of different process templates, and each process template can have its own method of execution, which could be waterfall or agile or hybrid, which is what Manu is about to show. One of the key strengths of Nimble Enterprise is actually a Nimble platform is that it supports the ability to have team level and even sometimes at the project and sub-project level, the ability for teams to define their own specific method of how they would like to execute these projects in order for them to really um, meet their own customer or business requirements.
Okay. So so one of the capabilities. Thanks, Mahesh, for answering that. But one of the capabilities that we support in the Nimble Enterprise is uh, we support different ways in which a task can be scheduled. there are different algorithms and logics you can use. So you can use fixed duration, fixed units, fixed work, fixed dates is something very unique to Nimble. And we have a concept known as hybrid tasks. Now, what does this hybrid task mean? So when a task has been marked as an hybrid task, so which I do over here, and if I just click on that particular task, I get the ability to link that specific task to user stories. And then I will be able to execute that task on the visual board, which I just showed you before. So once I've defined, linked the task to user stories, I will then be able to execute them on the visual board, like I showed you in the case of Agile. So basically what we are trying to do over here is the best of both is basically being brought to a project where you can plan using the standard waterfall method, the high level plan, and the actual execution can basically happen when the task gets linked to a particular to its set of user stories. And as the user stories are getting updated on the board, the task will also get updated within the Nimble Enterprise system. So that is a capability which we basically provide. Okay. So Mahesh, any other questions?
Yeah, there are at least two or three other questions. So the first question is about you. You had shown one of the screens, I think you're talking about the cloud template, and you talked about the different phases that are there, and each phase has those tasks. So the question is, can anyone define these phases and tasks, or is it a admin capability?
So the phases and the task can be created by the project teams if they want to do that. But we also provide an ability where it could be the PMO function or it could be the excellence team, center of excellence. They will be able to set up a template. Like say, for example, the cloud's excellence service center of excellence can say that, okay, if you're doing a cloud migration template, these are the typical set of phases and activities. So they can templatize it. Once it is templatized, then you can create a project from that template, in which case the phases and the activities will automatically get generated. Now, once you have used a template that has been published at the organization level, you have the ability to further fine tune it to suit your specific project need. And then if you as a project manager feel that what I have done in this project, I will be able to reuse it in my future projects, then you can save that also as a template and then create a project from the template which you have saved in the application.
Perfect. The other question is about agile projects. So there is a question about do you support multiple agile methods? Can I use Scrum or Kanban, or do I need to follow a particular agile method that is set up in the system?
You can follow, we support Scrum, Scrumban, and Kanban methods. All the three methods are supported in our platform. So we do provide an analytics page, which is basically the dashboard. So you will be able to view the traditional metrics like effort variance, schedule variance. You will be able to see, your typical Kanban metrics like my flow analytics, my cumulative flow diagram, or you will also be able to see the typical Scrum based metrics. Like, say, for example, if I go to a particular sprint, I'll be able to see my sprint burn down. I'll be able to see my sprint velocity, release burn up. So we do provide a lot of these out of the box widgets, which primarily helps in supporting various methodologies like Scrum, Kanban, or Scrumban.
In fact, I want to add to that we ourselves have a combination of methods that we use in our own product development as well as our professional services projects, where we use release or sprint-based planning, but at the same time, we predominantly follow a Kanban approach to managing flow and managing delivery of sort of continuous delivery of work to our customers, whether it is our engineering teams or whether it is our consulting teams that are doing implementation projects. So typically we combine the two and use them flexibly using our own systems. Okay, great. One last question, and this is more about uh, how do we link, I had referred to earlier to strategy to execution. So if I have defined OKRs in the system, how do I link OKRs to these projects? What is the mechanism of doing that? Can you show it in today's demo?
Yes. So, uh, yes, I'll quickly show you that. So the
I know
way
we're
we
not
do
planned
it,
for OKRs, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So the way we do that in our platform is, so let me just log in as a strategy manager. Now, when he or she logs into the system, they can go to the module that can be used for setting up your strategic objectives. So there are various levels in which we allow you to define the strategic objectives. It can be at a organization level or a department level or a team level or even at an individual team level. So here you can see my objective one is a company level strategic objective, and I will be able to see its progress. I'll be able to see the time elapsed, just to determine what has happened on that particular strategy. Now, once the objective has been defined, we allow you to break it down to key results. Now, key results are basically the outcomes that needs to be accomplished to say that this objective has met its goal. So you can see that for this strategic objective, there are two key results that are defined, and each of these key results can further be broken down to actionable sub key results. The sub key results which we have defined over here, you will be able to map it to a work item, so you which is getting executed in a project. So you can see that it is mapped to a particular project, it is mapped to a particular theme, and the name of that theme is prototype for action bot, and that the percentage completion of prototype of action bot gets rolled up to the sub key result level, which can then help the strategy team to determine what is the actual percentage completion or percentage progress of that specific objective. Now, let me just quickly log in as Jessica. Just give me a minute. So let's log in as a project manager, and you will be able to see that the theme which we have defined, the theme which we have defined, it gets, it will get reflected in, yeah, here you get to see here, and you'll see the percentage completion is 16.67%. This is exactly that gets rolled up at the object sub KR or sub objective level. So you can see that this is a company OKR. And then how is that 16.67 determined? It is based on the epics and the user stories and the progress of those epics and the user stories.
Perfect. So you can basically link it to the whole hierarchy, starting with
Yes,
the epics.
yes.
Great. Hopefully that answers that question. Looks like there are no other questions at this
Yeah,
stage.
so I just wanted to,
Yeah,
I just missed one point. There are just 2 points that I wanted to cover. So I was just, so here is a example of a hybrid project. So you can see that you have your phases, you have your activities defined. The discovery happens in a waterfall manner. The prototyping happens in a waterfall manner. The preparation also happens in a waterfall manner. But now when you come to execution, so like say, for example, I have a task over here called workflow definition, which is marked as a hybrid task. I have a task over here known as rules validation interface. This is a requirement that needs to be implemented, which has been marked as a hybrid task. Now, what happens is when you mark a task as a hybrid task, you will be able to break down that particular task to user stories. So you can see here this task is broken down to one epic So the rules validation task is broken down to one epic, and that epic is further broken down to 4 user stories, one of which is blocked, 3 of them are in execution. You'll be able to see which team is working on it. And then the percentage completion gets rolled up to the epic, and the epic's percentage completion gets rolled up to the task. So what do I mean by that is, once I have created this structure, the user stories will reside in the backlog. The Scrum teams or the Kanban team will pick up the user stories from the backlog, and then they will execute it. And once the execution starts, the actual start date and the actual effort that has been spent against that task will get automatically rolled up to the work breakdown structure. So you don't have to come and do a manual update over here. So, which means that this is an ability where you can set up your high level task and then break it down to user stories and allow the actual execution to happen in an agile manner, and still the data will flow back to the project. Okay. So that is one part. Now, before I conclude, the final point that I wanted to stress is a project is not just about tasks, user stories, epics, themes. These are the core. But a project is also about how do I manage my risks? How do I manage the decisions which I need to take? How do I manage my changes? How do I manage my risks, issues? So the Nimble Enterprise platform provides modules which can be used for defining these entities as they come into the project. And you can plan for the execution of your change request. You can plan for the mitigation of the risk. And you can also plan for the approach you're going to adopt to resolve the issues that has been identified in the project. So you can use a workflow approach. You can use a you can use a visual approach where if you want you can set up a lane that can completely be used for tracking. As you can see here, your risk issues, you will be able to create a separate workflow for tracking them visually within the context of the project. So that is also an important aspect in the Nimble application. And finally, like I just gave you a glimpse, Nimble provides a rich set of dashboards which can be used for tracking the progress of your projects, your sprints, your releases, your phases. So all of that can be tracked effectively. But Nimble also provides you, so I'll have to switch the project over here, which has data. Nimble also provides you the opportunity where as the project is progressing, so there are some meaningful insights which we provide over here. One of the uh, uh, module which can be used for tracking your insight is what we call as the project health framework. So if you go to the project health framework, Nimble provides you a view which says that a particular sprint or a particular milestone was supposed to be completed on this date, but because of the way in which the team is working, the velocity at which they are working, what was supposed to be completed on this particular date is now going to get completed on 26th, March or April. So it will basically show you the delay. And then when it shows you the delay, the likely delay, it also gives you an indication saying that your current velocity is zero point 0.2 cards a day, but you need to increase your velocity to 4.6 cards a day. And if you're able to do that, then you will be able to complete it at a much earlier date. So this insight again comes into the planning cycle. So as you see that there is a delay, it will help the teams to get back to the drawing board and replan so that they are able to mitigate the delay that is being projected based on how the work is continuing in a particular sprint or in a particular race. Okay, so that's it, Mahesh, from my side.
Perfect. Thank you, Mano. Really, really fascinating look at all the various capabilities that we provide. So with that, folks, thank you again for staying in today's session all the way to the end. I do want to mention that next week we will announce the next phase of this series with a series of the next 6 topics that we will cover as we continue this entire journey of how organizations that are successful in project and work management, how they organize themselves and how they are able to, link strategy to execution link your OKRs and portfolio objectives to the lowest level of work being done by teams in order to give sort of full 360 degrees visibility. And in that process, how do they become successful as delivering these projects? In case you have any questions, we'd love to have you share those with us at any point. And we would love to connect with you. I'm just going to go ahead and share our contact information so that you can connect with us at any time. Um, I just want to make sure that you have this information. If you are curious about any of the functionality that Mano talked about, we welcome you to give it a try. We have free trials available for all our products. And if you'd like to connect with a sales team, a salesperson in the team, you're welcome to connect with Mano and go from there. So there are various ways in which you can take a look and see what different ways we can help you. In the meantime, we look forward to having you in the next session in the next part of this series, which we'll announce in a couple of days. So with that, thank you so much. We'll close this webinar here. Mano, thanks a lot. And we will meet again
Thank
in
you.
the next session.
Sure.
Thanks. Bye.